Welcome to the MLB Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast and riding solo once more, Josh Lander. And I am bringing you some baseball best bets and a few player props here for Wednesday, July the 19th. I want to make sure to let you know to like and subscribe to that page. As always, continue to follow along. We will be coming back to you each and every weekday this MLB regular season. Also want you to head to thelines.com and check out everything we are putting up on the site these days and use that odds finder tool we have available for you. You can make sure that you're getting the best odds available to you from all of these books giving you baseball bets this season. Let's run through real quick yesterday. I'm happy to tell you, had a pretty nice day there. 3-1 on the day. Only thing that failed to hit was Taj Bradley. He gave up 2 earned runs. We needed him to give up 3. Only lost 0.2 units on that, but then we got 3 things right, as I mentioned. Toronto and San Diego. We took the first 5 money line there, got San Diego on that one, really fading Alek Manoah. Also faded Manoah by taking over 2.5 walks for him. He ended with 5. Got 0.3 units on that as well. And then also faded Aaron Nola's Ks. I mean, they were just too high. He had a good game, and the Phillies ended up beating the Brewers, but he only got 6 Ks, and we took under 7.5 at minus 140 for 0.4 units. You could have taken him for under 7 and still won that bet at plus 130 on DraftKings, but I stayed away from that juice and just took the under 8, which I thought was pretty much a guarantee, and put a little bit extra on it. So 5-4 on the season, up plus 1.58 units, about $158 if a unit is $100 for you. But let's run through the slate here that we've got on Wednesday, starting with that first game. Want to get it in for you. I believe it's a slightly early start with Boston and Oakland. And Boston, I'm taking on the not the money line, the run line there, minus 1.5. I actually feel good enough about them to just go ahead and get the minus 130 on DraftKings for that run line for them. That's 0.3 units I'm putting on there. The money line is minus 215, and I just don't love it enough. I think it's a pretty easy game for Boston right now. Brayan Bello, someone that needs to be talked about at this point. He's the Red Sox rather are 5-1 in his last 6 starts. He's taken home 4 wins in that time. He's posting a 2.14 ERA in those 6 games, all the way back to June basically. And he continued that in July as well. He still has he's lowered his season ERA all the way down to about 3.1. Which you feel really, really good about. Meanwhile, the A's have only scored 3 runs in the first 2 games of this series against Boston, and they haven't scored more than 3 runs in any of their games against Boston this season. I think you can probably cap them at that, and Brayan Bello should have a bit more luck, not luck really, even just a bit more success the way he's been pitching against this really, really bad A's lineup. And then, look, they're starting Ken Waldichuk. For those of you who have heard of lefty Ken Waldichuk, he has not been very good, as have none of the A's pitchers this season. He's 2-6 with a 6.66 ERA, and he started 12 games. He's actually appeared in 10 relief appearances as well this season. All of those numbers for starting or not starting. He's just not been a very good pitcher so far in this season for the A's. So I would feel pretty good about the run line there for Boston. And then I'm going to move back to a Cincinnati and San Francisco game here and go with Cincinnati in this one. And I think they have the clear advantage in the pitching matchup between Ross Stripling on the Giants, and then you've got Graham Ashcraft coming out for Cincinnati, who has looked much, much better. That's the reason that I picked him up on my fantasy team. I would suggest it. It's a decent matchup for him. Look, he started the season poorly, just really, really bad. That's why he's 4-7 on the season with a 5.95 ERA. It's interesting too because he is much better on the road, and this game is at home in Great American. So you know there is obviously always an opportunity for pitchers to get smacked up a little bit in the Cincinnati ballpark there. But in his last 3 overall, including one at home, he's got a 1.45 ERA in those last 3 starts. He's only given up 3 earned runs, and he's pitched 18.2 innings in that time. You know, going about 6 innings a game, which I really like for him to keep getting deep into that into the game for them in this one. That's why I do think he goes at least the 5. And Ross Stripling is not someone who you see go very long in these games. He's been all right as of late, but you know he's still, including a decent start last time out, but he's 0-2 total on the season with a 6.11 ERA. 4 earned runs that he's given up in his last 10 innings pitched, and that included a pretty nice 4 innings that he put out last time. So he, you know, despite that, he still has been giving up a good amount of runs as of late, and really in the entire season, whether he's coming out of the pen or starting for, you know, just like a spot start where he gets the 3 to 4 innings before they turn it over to the pen in San Francisco. But But one of the things that really caught my eye with this game was the way it opened. San Francisco was originally minus 125 favorites. The Reds were plus 115 dogs on the money line. And, what had ended up happening that was really interesting is that this dropped as we see now. Cincinnati's closer to about minus 105. For both teams, the money line is right about minus 105. And the way it got there wasn't because the public was betting on the Reds. In fact, the public has been betting on the Gigantes. 57% of the bets that have come in are on the Giants, yet that number still fell all the way from the Giants. In the case of the Giants, they were minus 125, falling all the way down to about minus 105, 106 for them at this point on the money line means that's been the sharps. That's been the people who have a lot more money to put out there and have a bit more insight that, this is what they do for a living. So they're clearly the ones putting the money on the Reds at this point, and I'm going to follow it. Even though the juice went all the way from plus 115 to minus 105, I understand that that's not always how you want to do things, but I liked the pitching matchup already for this team. I didn't get to it early enough. I wasn't betting baseball last night. I got to it this morning when I started capping these things, and by that point, I'd seen the movement, and it was like, okay, I still don't care, to be honest with you. I'm going to go ahead and jump on it and take this, like I said, tail the sharps in this one. I'm taking the first five. The money line is what's really moved, but I just think Ashcraft is going to be pitching well today, really. And as a result, you have a pretty big advantage in the starting pitching area as opposed to needing to worry about the bullpens quite as much for the Reds and the Gigantes in that one. So Reds, first five money line, minus 110 DraftKings, putting 0.3 units on that one. Closing things out, let's move on to the O's and the Doyers, the Dodgers here. We have a total of 9 runs, and I'm going right back to that, going over in that one. Should mention, by the way, too long that I've been recording this video without saying yesterday was an insane day of baseball. If you were watching some football scores out there, 16-13 D-backs, the 17-1 game that we had out there, the Mets and the White Sox were 11-10. Wild night of hitting, and there was a lot of humidity out there. It's going to be humid once again, especially in that area. Basically everywhere from like the eastern part of the Midwest all the way over to the East Coast is just going to be humid, and this Baltimore game in Baltimore can expect that swampy Maryland temperatures and climate to really impact this game once more with a bit more humidity and a bit more offense. So over 9 for Baltimore and the Doyers, and I'm kind of fading Urias and mostly Kramer here. I'll start with Kramer. 19 starts on the season, a 4.6 ERA, an expected ERA of 5.37. It's like he's been pretty bad, and all of his indicators sort of expect him to get worse, which is why I would just not ride with Kramer at this point and feel like any game that he's starting could be 3-4 runs in the first 4 innings or so. So you feel pretty good about fading him. And like I said, in these 19 starts for him, he's in the 15th percentile of ex-WOBA there, and as just getting hit on all of his pitches. He's leaving a lot of stuff over the plate, which is really what I worry about with him. It seems like these Orioles pitchers are trying to throw strikes all the time, and while that's good for a lack of walks, and he's got a really good walk rate, as do most of these Orioles pitchers, they're giving up a bunch of home runs. 20 home runs on the season and 19 starts for Kramer. Not a good K per 9, as you could expect. The pitch that he really relies on most with that cutter coming in on lefties and sort of coming out over the plate eventually and jamming righties, like it's not been there for him. He's getting really just smacked around with that pitch, about a 580 slugging percentage that he's allowing when he throws that pitch, a little bit worse on the expected slugging percentage. So I just don't trust him right now against a team that if you're going to leave the ball out over the plate against the Dodgers and all they need to do is make contact between speed and power and lefties and righties and switch and whatnot, I just don't like Kramer's odds against the Dodgers, who they had a little bit of a dip in June at times, but have come right back in July to be a top 3 offense once again on the season already, but as well in the month of July where they've just been crushing. So as far as Urias is concerned, just not the same dude that he was last season where he came in like 3rd or 4th in the NL Cy Young voting. At this point, he's had 13 starts, 4.35 on the ERA. And I mean, look, his expected is 3.85. So it's not like, he hasn't had decent stuff at times. He's allowed at least 2 runs in 9 of his 13 starts. And I think when you leaving the ball over the plate against, once again, a team like Baltimore, similar in offense to the Dodgers, they just have so much between speed at the top and then the power that you have in the middle with Rushman and Santander. Like I would feel a lot better about the Dodgers in this one because I do think they have a slight edge in the pitching matchup, but the way that Urias has been allowing home runs, nothing really seems to be working for him. I mean, he's at about 1.8 home runs per nine. Not really good. I mean, he's going deep into games, and so as a result, that still means he's giving up at least about a home run an outing. Not something that you would expect from a former almost Cy Young winner. And it's a big part of it is just his inability to throw his two best pitches, his fastball and his changeup. His changeup is getting absolutely smacked. It's not fooling anybody at this point, and the location for the fastball also would be a little bit of a problem. Why that changeup isn't working quite as much is because he can't throw the fastball for strikes. That's been a lot of his issue this year. So the over 9 runs in that game is something I'm feeling pretty good about. I would go ahead and put 0.3 units on that. It's minus 120 on FanDuel. And I'll close things out just by saying that I do like the DraftKings MLB promo that you can get today. I believe it's every Wednesday. It's a little bit better than, in my opinion. I don't want to slander the FanDuel Dinger Tuesday too hard, but it's not my preferred way to try to bet on things, is try to figure out who's going to hit a home run and just get like $5 back if it doesn't happen. So I would prefer to just go a few money lines, because on DraftKings you can take bets, straight bets, parlays, props. You can put them together and you can get whatever you want. If you maximum of $10 in bonus bets that you would get back from DraftKings. So if you bet $10, you're guaranteed to get it back. Maybe throw a little a nice parlay on there. I think I'm going to go ahead and parlay Boston to beat Oakland. I'm going to take the Braves as well to top the Diamondbacks with a nice pitching advantage with Charlie Morton on the mound for them. So I would go and I've got to have that revenge after losing 16. You score 13 runs and lose a baseball game, you're going to come back with some anger. I think the next game, that's plus 115 when you put those together on DraftKings. I mean, look, throw the Dodgers in there if you want as well. I wouldn't feel bad about that. I think they're going to win this game against the Orioles once again, which is going to be a tough stretch for the Orioles, who could not pick up any ground on the Rays. But that's what I would do. I just want to throw that in there because I do think that's a better promo than the Dinger Tuesday. So if you want to find a baseball promo for today, head over to DraftKings. Make sure you opt in and then bet just $10 because that's all you're going to get back on your bet, whatever you feel comfortable with there. So that is all the time I have for you today. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along. Coming back to you tomorrow and the rest of this weekday. So until we see you next, happy betting.